Okay, I've started. Hi, Sarah. I've started recording. Ollie's just telling us that I hadn't realised Simon had emailed, and he's not feeling too good. So
yes, I saw the email.
Yeah, we hope it's not COVID-19. So I'm going to record this and share it with Simon. So we hope you're feeling better fairly soon, Simon. And Ollie, would you just would you mind just recapping those main points that Simon made about?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think his main comments would be focused around general processes. So he's keen for us to map out a flow of checks, proof, etc. ahead of the next issue, which I think would be definitely useful, because I think I fell over a bit at the end, sort of not being able to proof check everybody as wanted. So he's keen for us to put some kind of a flow check in place. And he also said about ideas for the front cover of the next issue. I did see that came up on the social media sites in recent weeks. Someone saying, it'd be good to have a different shot other than the Abbey or the water tower. So yeah, I think he's keen for us to have a chat about that. I think those are the main things he's mentioned about. So just getting a flow process, or a bit more structure for the next issue. But yeah, he said that he had some great feedback following it. So
yeah, I've certainly had good feedback from people. So I think everybody should give themselves a slap on the back for the first edition. It was a really good collaborative effort from volunteers, and I think we've done really well.
And I think the design looks great, Sarah. It's like, I think I've got an older copy of it next to it, and it's like chalk and cheese. This version compared to what it looked like before.
Steady on.
No, but it's a whole different. It's a different way of doing it, isn't it? It's like all the colours have changed. It looks like a different magazine, but obviously the structure's still, the structure's the same. But it's no, I think the improvements are positive, definitely. Okay. Not saying it was bad before, Eric.
I know my limitations, and I'm not a designer. I don't have any problem. No feathers to ruffle there. So shall we? I sent a few. Well, it wasn't really an agenda. It was just a list of points around. Shall we go through that? Shall we go through those in order as I sent them? And we will add. We've got advertising procedures and editorial procedures, so maybe we can combine both of those into a sort of a process plan to see how we can best do things. The first item was date of next edition. This should be spring 2021. Ideally, I think we should aim to have it out a couple of weeks before Easter. And Easter next year, Good Friday, is on April the 2nd. So I think if it always takes about a week to get the magazine out. So if we could aim for delivery somewhere around March the 12th, that gives us a good 2 weeks before Easter. And we probably need to have, the printer needs a week, doesn't he, Sarah, to get it turned around. So we're probably looking at March the 5th.
I would say
the
final, yeah,
and then a couple of weeks for you to get the pages sorted out. We're probably looking at a deadline of around February the 19th to get things. Does that sound sensible, Sarah?
Yeah.
So okay, so let's work towards that. I think maybe maybe this time there are some articles that we could get to you earlier, and you can put some pages together as solo pages, so that they can just drop in wherever.
Yeah,
maybe that might be a good solution. Okay, great. I'll send those dates around to everybody, so we're not depending on the video version. We had a look at business guide, and we said, oh, we'll do a business guide, and then when I got the copy for the business guide that was published on the Facebook page, it was just a list of business names, which wasn't terribly useful. What do we think of this guide? I guess this is it's an editorial decision from Simon. Maybe he can come back to us, but it's also, I think, something of an advertising opportunity for you, Ollie.
Yeah.
Although, what do we do with the people who advertise regularly, who are also in the business guide? Do we automatically give them an enhanced listing and try and upsell enhanced listings to some of the others? That might be an option. What do you think, Ollie? What would you?
Yeah, I think if people, it depends what sort of cost we want to attach to it, because it could be something along the lines of almost every business who wants to be involved in the directory can be. If you wanted to have an enhanced listing, standardly, say, I don't know, it's £10 per business for argument's sake. And then if you're already advertising, it's half price or something. So it's not going to be, I wouldn't say it's mega money, but it might just be a nice little, because depending on the numbers you get involved, say, for argument's sake, say we've got, I don't know, 40 advertisers in the magazine, for argument's sake, and each of those paying then an extra £5 for that enhanced listing. That's an extra £200. Well, no.
Do we really need to charge them extra, because we actually are showing a profit? We're a not-for-profit organisation.
Yeah.
Therefore, surely, provided they are advertising and we receive funds, give them the enhanced listing. But yes, offer it to other people. If they don't want to pay £17.50, they can pay their £10 or whatever for an enhanced one as an extra. But I don't think to charge the other people twice, seems we don't need the money, to be honest. We will be in profit in the next issue, almost certainly, because we won't have the errors we made this time.
Definitely, and I was going to ask about that, because as good as it obviously is to upsell them, if we're not looking to make, it sounds weird, if you're not looking to make a profit, it's looking to pay for itself. Yeah, we don't want to. I know you mentioned the last call, Chris, that we don't really almost want to be making money, because that's not the purpose of it. So I agree with that. So maybe then, if you're currently advertising, it's just an added extra bonus that we're doing. And if people haven't got the budget to advertise, it's a cheap option that they can get some kind of an exposure in the back without spending a lot of money. So maybe something like that. Because I appreciate, obviously, it's not like we're trying to make a profit. We're
not trying to maximise the profit anyhow. It's not important to make that extra £200 or anything like that, because that will only be given away to whoever we feel like.
Absolutely.
I think I agree with Chris. I think chasing around after people for extra money for a small amount is probably not really worthwhile. And we have quite a core of advertisers that have been really supportive and the aim of the magazine is to, spread news around the village and help local business, not particularly to make a shed load of money that we've just got the hassle of what do we do with it? We've got to give it away and then start a big argument about who gets it, So
yeah, absolutely. So I guess then yeah.
Do we think? Does everybody think a business listing maybe once a year is a good idea to try to capture every business in the village and provide it to people in the village as a useful reference point? Is that is that a useful thing?
If we're still charging people, I still think we're going to get people that don't want to go in there. So if you want to have everybody from the village in there, I don't know how we go around that.
How many pages would that take to have all village businesses in there? Are you talking about 2 pages, 1 page? What sort of, it's the print cost involved.
By the list you gave me last time, it would need to be a double spread, really.
2 pages.
Yeah, and I think that was such a skeleton list, Sarah. I think by the time you add maybe addresses, emails, phone numbers in, and if you make some kind of enhancement for those people that are regular advertisers, you're probably looking at 4 pages at least. I thought maybe I'm not dead sure.
And with the directory, is it? I guess. Do we know how the readers use the magazine in the sense of are a lot of the readers keeping hold of the magazines, and when the next issue comes out, are they then recycling the old one and then sticking with the new issue? Because I'm just thinking, if we do it once a year, that's great, but then if they then are not holding on to the other issue and getting rid of it when the new issue comes out, they're going to lose that directory. So part of me feels that if we do it, it should almost be like a permanent feature, but then as you say, you've got the problem of it is added cost because it's then going to be an additional 4 pages every issue if you did that. So I guess it's understanding how the readers are using the magazine and what's going to work, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't commissioned any research, or we don't have any reliable research on this thing. It's all anecdotal stuff, and I know some people do keep issues for a long time. They sit on the shelf and people refer back to them for contacts for advertisers. But yeah, I mean, the most useful thing maybe would be to have it in every time. That might be helpful. It might.
Well, we will know after
discourage
this.
Advertisers. Yeah.
Well, this is it. To do it the first time, see how many people are willing to pay for the enhancement who don't advertise. Will that then cover the print costs for an extra 4 pages is the first question. And then obviously Ollie will get the feedback of the advertisers the next time saying, well, there's no point me putting a 1/4 page advert in. I could just have one of those enhancements. It's just as good. We drive it by the seat of our pants. It goes, the first time in and see what happens and the amount of money it makes.
So, because there is also the option, because we've got the Thorney Post Facebook page, what we could do if we get everybody's details is I can just put together a PDF, a downloadable PDF that you can stick on there, and we can reference it in the magazine. Then we're not paying for any extra print pages, and if somebody does drop out of it, it's easy for me just to pop in, take it off, send back the PDF and get it re-uploaded. It might be more.
Yeah. I think if you did that, I think that'd be a good idea, because you could maybe even on the Facebook post, you could somehow pin it as like a, I don't know how Facebook works, but I know on some websites you can pin PDFs or articles to the front page. So no matter where, whenever you load that page, that piece of that file will be pinned on there. I think if we did do that, I think it's probably still maybe worth having it in once a year in the issue, just for the elderly generation, for instance, who don't use Facebook but still need that information, because they would then miss out on it. So I think maybe it'd be good to pin it on the Facebook, but maybe have it in one issue a year, and then it's what issues you put it in. Like, I guess I would imagine the biggest issue probably is the one that's out now just for Christmas, maybe. I don't know. Or yeah, that'd be my thoughts.
Yeah, Christmas or spring probably, because people tend to be away in the summer.
I mean, also, if
If
we had to do 4 pages anyway, if we did the centre 4, it can be pulled out and kept without the magazine.
Could be, yeah.
And again, we would just sort of highlight that in the, pull out, keep
Pull out section, yes.
Yeah, just a thought.
Yeah.
And then also have a downloadable PDF on the Facebook forum as well for the people that would prefer to do it digitally. I don't know. I'm just wondering. I'm just thinking of a way of not having it in there every issue. Sorry, but you could put an insert in. But if you did the centre spread, it might be better.
I mean, say, doing it once a year, we're doing a service then for those people who don't advertise. We shouldn't necessarily feel we've got to spoil our magazine just to do that service, when the people who are advertising should be the ones who are getting the service. So I think once a year is a generous thing for us to do. And then, as you say, have it as a pull-out section if you want, or to say it'll always accessible on the Thorney Facebook page. If you need it, it'll be there somewhere, just to let people know. And, how we don't want to sort of shoot ourselves in the foot just to keep people who aren't willing to support the magazine, happy.
Okay.
Compromise.
So that sounds like a good plan. Maybe we take a look at that. Ollie, do you have any thought about what an upsell package might comprise?
Well, I guess it depends. Again, it depends how frequently, or if you even want it in the magazine. If you just put it pure onto the Facebook, because I guess if it's not going into the magazine, there'd be almost no point selling anything onto it, because it's not going to cost us anything to put it, other than the time obviously for Sarah to pull together the structure of it. If we're not going to have it in print, it's not going to cost anything for us to have in the magazine. So I think if we were, for argument's sake, I think if we were just doing it once, say in the spring edition of the magazine, as a first time directory, pull out and keep this to hand, and then from there onwards it'll be constantly updated on or kept a version of it on the Facebook, there's probably no point attaching a cost to it. I don't know. What do you think, Sarah?
I wouldn't have thought there would be. No, I don't think so. Also, again, it's that whole thing, isn't it? If you've got absolutely every single business in the whole of Thorney using it, and the one that you sent me, I thought was quite big for the size of Thorney, but as you say, that wasn't anywhere near all of it. It's going to be a lot of work for you, Ollie, every time, because you'd really have to go back every single time and check that they still want to be in it if they're paying.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they might just say, do you know what, I didn't want to be in this week, but you didn't check, so I'm not paying you. I don't know, you just got that danger of that kind of thing. I just think it could turn out to be very, very heavy workload for you.
Yeah. So how about then if we just did it as a one-off directory in the spring edition that will highlight as a pull-out directory, that we're doing as a one-off in print for you to pull out and keep on your bookshelf in your kitchen.
No cost to the businesses, yeah.
Yeah, no cost attached, and then there'll be a version of it on the Thorney Post website for future reference if you end up spilling tea on this version, basically.
Yeah.
But still enhancing our advertisers, still with the ones who advertise in the magazine with a slightly larger font.
Yeah, we can do that. We can put a border around them. We can make them stand out a bit more. That's not a problem.
Yeah.
And then if we get any new businesses into the village and they want to start advertising, we'll just have to just make sure that we always update the list that's online.
Yeah, that sounds sensible. As you say, if you were going to charge for it, there'd be a lot of ringing around to make sure Yeah, it'd be a
You wouldn't
constant thing, wouldn't
expect
it?
every issue, really. I mean, it's like the adverts now, you know, you can't just assume that everybody wants to
Oh,
advertise.
no.
Issue. So Ollie's got to go around and say, do you still want to, and do you want to change anything? I mean,
Yeah.
all of those,
Yeah,
it's
it
going to take
all takes time to invoice
Yeah.
them and then to monitor that they're paid and check them off, and
Mm.
they come into the bank under different names to what the bloody advert was listed
Yeah.
under. So it's
And if Chris is chasing 5 or £10 adverts, he's not going to be very happy with me, is he?
with names you can't recognise because they're different names than what they bloody well got the company name as. That's usually what it is.
And I'm
Brilliant.
thinking of also the proofing with telephone numbers and email addresses. They're all going to have to be cross-checked by a couple of people, to be fair, because you know what it's like. You can't.
I think you keep it very
hard on
simple.
something, it's difficult to then proofread what you've been working on. So for Ollie to do all the adverts and get them all in, we'd have to get other members to proof phone numbers, email addresses.
But surely we just keep it very simple. Name, telephone number. Don't go email. It's where email addresses are involved when errors occur, isn't it?
Yeah,
But
can be.
a simple telephone number, you're not likely to have too much of an error. You wouldn't have thought, since they all should be 270 numbers.
Yeah.
Don't know. Okay.
I think about that one.
One small piece of feedback I did get from a couple of people was, where's the village contacts page? We'd always carried a list of village organisations and contacts from each one. Now, it's fairly easy to do, and it's more or less a standing page. I used to people generally used to say when there was a change, when somebody had left or they'd got a new secretary or whatever. I don't think it was particularly important this time round because nobody's really doing anything. The Old Folks Club aren't doing anything. The Guides, the Brownies, the Cubs, the Scouts aren't meeting. So there's not a great deal going on, to be honest with you. But maybe it's something that we should put back for next time. So I don't know whether we do it as a separate page and we put it in the magazine each publication, or whether we combine it with the business directory and just make it a Thorney directory for both business and nations. Any thoughts?
How many? What's the numbers likely to be on that? How many people?
There must be about 25 village organisations.
It always took a page,
on
didn't
there.
it? It always was one full
It
page,
did, yeah.
more or less.
Yeah, and I used to put I used to put the opening times of the library and the doctors on there, and the post office. Not that we've got a post office anymore. And we'd have an appeal at the top for organisations that needed help. I generally volunteers, somebody needs people's help with something. So that's what it used to do. I generally used to stick it near the back of the magazine, just out of the way.
Yeah.
Because it was, it's not high value.
I've got it here. So this was the one.
That's it. That's the one.
This one here. And basically this has, it's got handy numbers, which is village clubs and groups, meeting times for village clubs and groups, and then opening times, post office, library and doctor. Because I guess obviously this next issue, we're not going to have the first page, which is like who's the new team. So we'll get that page back, won't we?
Yeah. So
that could just potentially replace that. And then looking at the older version of the Thorney Post, the first when you opened the old Thorney Post, there was like this blue column here that had like who was doing the advertising, the Thorney Post email address for editorial, advertising rates for those interested. So maybe we should bring that something similar to that back into the start, obviously, because this next issue we're not going to have a picture of all of us, a little blur about our lives. So then you might need something like that, I guess, to replace it.
Yeah. So who to contact for an advert, who to contact for an article. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And then taking nice pictures and various things from around the village. If they want to contribute, they can send them directly to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good.
Okay, great. Accounts, did we make money on the last edition, Chris? Did we wash our face, or
Not quite. £1,385 was the amount was billed to advertisers. The cost of print was 1,410. So a mere sort of £30 or £40. But
The adverts that we missed then.
if we had those adverts that should have got in, or the one we would have made a profit.
Okay. Yeah.
That was very close, but not this time.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we're still sort of sitting now. We've had in about £900 of that has come in already. So our account is sitting with about £1,800 or £1,900 in as we speak today. So we've got another £400 or £500 to come in. So we are still quids in for doing the next one without any worries at all.
The only one I was going to ask about on the advertising point, because I saw when it was printed it was in, but I don't remember talking to them. The councillor quarter page, I think the councillors have an advert in there. Is that a paid for advert, or is that something that we just provide as a service?
The Peterborough Conservatives pay.
It's paid for.
Okay, because I don't think I had them on my spreadsheets. I think that one was probably one that was pre-booked that I wasn't aware of. So when I saw it in print, it's on page 42, the quarter page. So I didn't put that on the spreadsheet to invoice because I wasn't aware of that one. So if that is a paid one, then we will need to probably invoice for that quarter page there.
Well, Steve Allen was invoiced for a quarter page, but that was for the Peterborough Conservatives. I don't know if there's any other councillors who weren't Conservatives on that. They're all Conservatives, aren't they?
Yeah.
So he paid up. He had his own advert, Steve Allen Entertainments, and he pays that separately than what he does the Peterborough Conservatives.
I see. Okay.
Still Steve Allen who sorts it all.
Okay, perfect. No, that's fine. I thought I'd triple check about that one, because that's the only one I couldn't remember for the life of me. But yeah, I think I imagine Eric's going to get onto the advertising procedures in a bit, so I won't jump the gun on that one.
Okay.
So with the costings and everything, how the new printers, is everyone happy with them? Do you want to use them again? I just say, because I've had an email from them this morning, just saying that, he hoped everything was okay, and if we wanted to, they would book us a slot for the next issue. So I can go back to him and say we're looking at end of mid-March if everyone's happy.
Yeah.
I think the quality was fine, Sarah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it was really good. It had a funny smell to it. I think they must use some.
Stank, didn't it?
Maybe it was hand wash, hand sanitizer.
we had the whole boxes and boxes of them in the kitchen for about half an hour. My wife was
Smelly.
very, very. What's that smell? She was, looking around. So,
well, in the spring,
in
you
the
can keep
garage
them in the
next
shed.
keep them out of the way next
Okay,
time.
so I'll go back to him and tell him that if he books in again for the next issue, and we'll go again.
Yeah, I think we should say we keep it under constant review, but we'll probably go with you next time. So
Okay.
Something like that.
No worries.
Yeah. Don't make him feel too comfy, or he'll put the price up.
No, I won't. No worries.
He was he was quite a nice chap. He said we were much better. He lives in Eye, and he said it's much better than the Eye Spy. I wish we had one like this in Eye. So he was buttering me up a bit. But there we go.
Oh no, I used to live in Eye. It's definitely better than theirs, 100%.
Okay, so the other two items were both procedural production items, advertising, editorial, and I guess we also need to maybe look at the process, flows, checks, proofs, and the front cover. Well, I think probably we could nail the front cover fairly quickly. I think Simon was probably responding to some comments from John Richardson, our village elder, on Thorney Post, on the Thorney Community Forum, where he was he was saying not a bad effort, but
another Abbey photo. Yeah, I saw that.
another picture
Yeah,
of
I
the
saw
church.
that.
Well, we've not had a when I took it on 7 years ago, the same picture used to be on the front because they used to pre-print the cover, and the same picture was on every time, and it was a line drawing of the church, the abbey, which does represent the village, it has to be said. But when we introduced colour and we were able to vary the cover, we used to use a variety of different pictures. The last one I did was a picture of the abbey because it was quite an interesting drone picture from up above. But of course, John Richardson's fallen out with the abbey because they banned him from the churchyard for desecrating their yew trees with over enthusiastic pruning.
Yeah,
Which actually look very nice now.
they do. Yeah.
Trees still recovering, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
so John has an axe to grind, and I don't think it matters really if we put a nice picture on the front or we put a picture of the church on the front. I think it's down to us to decide, and the church does represent the centre of the village.
Well, I have got photographs of everything really, because I went out in the summer when the weather was lovely and took photographs of everything, and I've got a really, really good picture actually of the windmill, which I almost put on funnily, but then I thought, no, we're making a comeback, it's got to be the abbey.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I mean, we could use that next time if you like, and it's sunny and it's bright. Yeah. Probably fit rather well with it being a spring. There's loads of photographs. If you want to see any, just give me a shout and I'll get them all. Well, I don't know if I can put them all up onto Dropbox because there is a lot. I've got hundreds.
Why don't we leave this to Simon and Sarah to?
Yeah.
Simon's not here, so we can give him as many jobs as we like, can't we?
Yeah, absolutely.
Why don't we leave it to Simon and Sarah to determine? Just make a decision that you think is good. Yeah, I think.
There were two ideas, Sarah, that I potentially had for the front cover. One you've already touched on is, does anyone have access to a drone? Because you could do an aerial shot of Thorney, not the Abbey, but an aerial shot of Thorney, which could be quite an interesting perspective because 99% of us would never have seen Thorney from the air, for argument's sake. Or another one, I went on a walk recently down the Old King's Line in the Farmers' Fields. And I think somebody on Thorney Community Post, I want to say fairly recently, posted a picture. They'd done that same walk and they took a picture looking back at the village at sunset or sunrise, one of the two. And it was very pretty. So you had the fields, you had the old train line, and then you had Thorney at the end of it, which I thought would have been, again, another really nice idea for the front cover. If you have a look on Facebook, it's somewhere, it might be in the Community Post, and someone said he'd walked for miles, he'd done, I don't know how many kilometres or whatever. But that made me think, that'd be a nice shot, because again, it's something quite iconic to Thorney, but at the same time a little bit different that people might not have seen before maybe. But as I say, we've got lots of issues in the future, so we can sort of bank some of the ideas.
Yeah, and plenty of historic photos of Thorney. Everybody always likes to see the old Thorney as well.
Yeah,
get some of these really old photos, sort of, I can remember that.
We've got a lot to choose from. We've got and
let's leave it to you.
I say a lot of people are putting put nice photographs up quite often on the forum about sort of there's a night sky or, like say, an early morning sunset or something. So I might sort of just contact them and say, Because as long as it's got a good resolution photograph, there's
Yeah.
no reason why we can't use them.
Usually it's Michael Sly. He's the one who's up early and
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
Okay, great. So let's just consider procedures. Did the Dropbox work okay with everybody? I know Simon had some.
I don't know,
a
because
few
I had
issues.
problems with Simon's stuff coming through from Dropbox, and then there's a couple of things, because I've had a little look through a few things, and there's some adverts that I think maybe Ollie, you thought they were there, but they weren't.
Yeah.
You see them, and then I think you'd updated your spreadsheet, and it hadn't updated when I opened it. So
Yeah.
I'm not overly confident with it. Put it that way. I'm just not.
Yeah, there was one advert in particular. There was one advert in particular for this new business that I got in, and I remember opening the advert and thinking, oh, that's interesting, and I've saved it. And I checked my downloads on my computer. I've definitely saved it as the right extension, and I could have sworn I put it into Dropbox, and I've gone in there and it's not there. And I'm thinking maybe I didn't, but I've done everything. I've got the advert. I've said to her, thank you for the advert. I've put it in the Dropbox. I've labelled it. I've even got it in my downloads of where I've labelled it. Yeah, I could not sit in Dropbox. I thought, well,
I think
I
you
wouldn't
probably
have.
put it in there, but yeah, there's a bit of a syncing issue, because the last lot of the articles, Eric, that I was chasing for, Simon had to email me them to my personal email address directly, because we just weren't getting them. He could see them quite clearly on Dropbox, and I couldn't see them. So I think we've definitely got some issues with that.
It's yeah. I mean, it's weird. I've never tried sharing files across so many people before. I've you know, I do share files with well, with the school when I was a governor, and also with my sons. And I've got plenty of capacity in Dropbox, but it's a bit of a worry. It's clearly not working. What what else could we do? Could we use Microsoft or something like that? Or
if we saved it onto something like, is it OneDrive Microsoft use? Is that a personal drive? Can other people access that? Is that another option? I'm not entirely sure. And then again, the only problem then is if someone's on a Mac, can they access it as well as someone on a Windows system? I don't know.
Yeah, possibly not.
I think OneDrive, if you're a Microsoft subscriber, and you go and you set up OneDrive, I think you can set it up to share with others just the same as you can with Dropbox. And I don't think it matters if other people have Microsoft accounts or not. I think they can theoretically still access it as a guest. It's worth a try.
Yeah, we could always set up an account and try it and just see if it works. I like the idea of the Dropbox where we have editorial folder, advert folder, and I've tidied up my side of the Dropbox with the adverts. So I've put like edition, whatever it was, issue 67. I've put all the adverts and all that into there to keep it separate, so that again there's no crossover for the next issue. So I know that to chase for that advert because it's not showing, rather than updating the current advert, because then I won't know which ones are old and which ones are new. So I like the idea of having a central repository, and then once that issue is done, putting all the comms and everything about that issue into a separate folder and then starting afresh, just so there's no crossover. But yeah, it's important that we have something that syncs right, because I'd say some of the adverts, I swear I put them in there, but I've gone in and they're not there. So I'm thinking, oh, I've made a mistake, but I could have sworn some of them were there. So I'm not entirely sure. You start to doubt yourself.
Yeah, you do.
Sarah, do you use OneDrive yourself? Do you have you don't? Do you have any file sharing software?
Yeah,
that
we
you
use a SharePoint, but I don't know I don't think that's through OneDrive. Maybe it is. But it's just what our firm uses, and everything gets dropped in there, and I take it from there, and it works perfectly well. But
yeah,
I don't know how we would access something like that privately.
I mean, looking online, Google reckons the top 3 file sharing systems. First one's Dropbox, second one is Google Drive, and the third one is WeTransfer. So I've used
WeTransfer. I use a lot, yeah.
I've used that in publishing. I don't know. I assume it works the same as Dropbox, but Google Drive, I don't. Yeah, that comes above WeTransfer apparently in the rating. So I don't know too much about Google Drive. I assume they're all much of a muchness, but I guess as long as we can all go into one, I suppose it's probably the sinking issue that if multiple people are going into, for instance, the same spreadsheet on a daily basis, does it allow everyone to edit at the same time, stuff like that? Because if not, one person could be editing, one person could be viewing, and it's not a live version until you save it.
Yeah, you can you can get issues because I use Dropbox across multiple PCs, and when I was working, I did the same. And you can get a situation where you may be working offline and you've made some changes to a document. So theoretically, then you have 2 versions, one in your Dropbox folder on your PC and one on the Dropbox folder in the cloud. And but Dropbox normally asks you which one do you want to save the latest version or keep the older version. So that's always worked okay for me in the past. I don't yeah, I don't know. It's so Ollie had difficulty with Dropbox from the very start, which is a bit of a concern. I hadn't realised that you'd had the same. Sorry, Simon had problems from the start. I didn't realise you'd had the same, Ollie, and that you've had, Sarah. So it's
Yeah.
You see, I didn't know there was a problem until there was a problem. If you see what I mean, I couldn't see it come in. It was just with sending things, putting up the draft and everything, and then Simon was saying, well, there's articles missing, and I was like, well, they're not on your list. Yeah, they are. No, they're not. So they were on his list at his side, not in my list, and the uploads haven't seemed to appear either. So that was.
Yeah. I mean, looking at Google Drive, it looks like that's free of charge, and you can store up to 15 gigabytes of data. Now, I don't know how much space we're currently using. I guess the articles are Word docs, so they're not going to be massive. It's just the pictures,
and
the images and the graphics. And if we're doing proof versions of the final, again, that's going to be a decent size because I guess some of those are going to be high res. And obviously 56 pages of high res imagery is going to then cost in terms of space.
I'm just going to see what I had for the last issue, what it finally came in at.
You don't want to be worrying about space limitation. That's the only thing, isn't it? Whereas Dropbox is quite good because you've got loads of space. You're not going to run out of space. Whereas this Google Drive looks like you get 15 gig free and then you have to upgrade and pay for it. WeTransfer looks like there's a free trial, but again, it looks like they push people towards paying for it from what I'm reading here.
So the final version of the post was 36,000 kilobytes.
Okay, so that's well within 15 gig, isn't it? Well,
what costs are we looking at anyhow for paying for these services? What sort of costs are they?
Well, so WeTransfer cost. It's in flipping dollars. Hold on, let me go on Google UK. That might help.
Usually what you pay for works better than what you get free, in my experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And if we've got a little bit of overspend anyway, like if we're getting a bit more in than it costs to print, then if we actually paid for a WeTransfer or something like that, and it saves us all the heartache, still in dollars.
Yeah.
We can look into it though.
Yeah, the Dropbox is a paid for service. I'm using it personally, and so I'm paying for it at the moment.
So it's not a free service.
No. I mean, you can get it free, but you only get a certain amount of space free. And I gobble that up in no time. So I use it for pictures, and my son uses it as well. So the bit of Thorney Post that occupies it isn't really
Unless we do continue to use it for one more issue, and just be triple checking in terms of, so from an advertising point of view, I think for the next one, like when it gets to a certain date and the final proof is nearing completion, that I'm then planning to go through, instead of going through the proof of the adverts on the Dropbox, if I go through my spreadsheet, which will be 100% correct, against the proof in the physical PDF version, and just ignore all the JPEGs, whatever that I've uploaded, that should be foolproof, I think. Because I think I was checking against the proofs that I'd uploaded, and obviously if some of them hadn't uploaded properly, they wouldn't have shown. Whereas the spreadsheet, to be fair, I didn't have any issues with syncing, so the spreadsheet was always up to date. So I'm thinking for the next issue, I'll use the spreadsheet to proof against the final PDF and ignore the advert copy that I'm uploading to Dropbox.
Okay, yeah, that could work. We could try that.
Um,
It's worth giving it another go. It could have been teething errors, teething issues, I don't know. And if it's always worked for you in the past, Eric, then, I mean,
yeah. I mean,
there's now, isn't there?
I can set up a new folder, March 2021, and I can send out invitations again, so that everybody gets that invitation. And maybe if we go through that setup process again, we can lose any issues, any bugs that we had the first time around. We do need to be careful though, just in case there are further issues, and maybe we could get a view from Simon, because Simon had the most problems with it, and for the life of me, I couldn't work out what they were. Okay, so other procedures, just on editorial. I think the list worked quite well, but it was probably missing, Sarah, do you think, a couple of things? Maybe we needed a catch line for each story to identify it more clearly, and perhaps a more precise status flag, so that we could say it's expected, it's finished, it's proofed, or something along those lines.
With editorials, in an ideal world, we would have basically just a separate folder for like good to go. If you had like a working folder of the documents that you knew you were still working on and still waiting for some kind of confirmation on, and then when they're moved into a final folder and they've got everything in, they've got their title, they've got their strapline, and they've got all of their content, and I can obviously work out normally which photographs go with them. I think that would probably be the best way to do it. So I'm not using, because I'm taking a copy and I've got no way of knowing that it's likely to change. So I'm just using it, and then potentially someone's updated something, and this is where we had a bit of crossover with Simon as well, because I wasn't getting the updated stuff. So really what we probably want is a final, like a working folder and a final folder, and I will only take from the final folder and only put it in everything. It needs to have its full title, it needs to have its strap line, and it needs to have all its content and all signed off, and then I know I can take it and it's good clean copy. With
the pictures in the final folder as well, or
no, you can put those in the
they can stay in a separate
images, because that's fine. I can normally work out which is which, but you can always tag the number of the image or something in the bottom of the article if you want to make sure. But I normally kind of read through the article and the names pop up, and then you know whose photographs you need to use. But
okay. Fine, that sounds good. And advertising procedures. I think, Ollie, you've probably given this some thought, and you know what you want to do for the next edition. Is that?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, where it fell down was probably then the correct proof checking at the end to make sure everyone that was supposed to be there was there. So I think this time round, I'll do the same as I did last time in terms of contact everyone individually. I've created a new tab on the spreadsheet now for this new edition. So anyone, for instance, that we've missed out, I've been in contact with all of them. Basically offered them pretty much all sort of 50% discount on the spring edition. So I've put that in the new tabs. I've documented everyone that's got some kind of an amendment to them for the next ad. So that's all documented. So when we come around to do it. And then the major difference for me is, I think, is going to be when all the advertisers are confirmed, we've got all their copy, we'll then be putting a set date in towards the end when we've got the final proof ready to spend a day and go and compare the final proof against the spreadsheet and just ignore anything in between. And then I can flag if there's anyone missing, because that way there's going to be nobody missed out, because it's going to be a solid spreadsheet list that's going to be 100% right, and then the final PDF. Because I think if I proofread or proof check too early on, I guess the chances are then if we move pages around, bits could get left off, and then I could then assume I've already checked, but then it could have been missing off at the end. So I think I'm best to check almost like 2 days before we're ready to go to the printers. Obviously making sure that we've got all the copy beforehand. So it's more just a case of, is it physically there on the page?
I just wondered also, Ollie, I don't know, maybe it's up to you. Obviously you've got a deadline for your adverts coming in. Once you've hit that deadline and you're not getting any more adverts, just as a bit of like a seatbelt kind of thing, if you could email me spreadsheet, or even, doesn't even need to be the whole spreadsheet really, just literally the list of a list of the names of every advert that needs to be in there, just so I've got a little checklist. And then, we're not going to add any more. No one's going to drop out because we've hit the deadline. You can send that to me directly. Just email it to me directly, and then we can both double check them then. Yeah,
it'd be a bit of a safety net, 100%.
If there's something on there that's listed but I can't see the advert in Dropbox, at least I can let you know and you can get it.
Absolutely. No, I think that sounds really sensible.
Let's do that.
I'll do the same. Is that when you send me the spreadsheet, I'll only bill them when I've actually checked it physically in the magazine in front of me, because obviously I did send a few invoices out to people who didn't have adverts in, which was a bit of a problem, but I will double check from the spreadsheet to the magazine before I invoice them. And that way, there's no way anybody's going to be double charged for what they've not had. And I might pick up, like I did on the Harmony roofing, hang on, there's an advert there. It's not on the spreadsheet, but I'll bill them anyhow.
So it's a double check from me and Sarah that it's physically there, and then for you it's a triple check, isn't it, to make sure that we're billing them and it is there once, and that's at the point of obviously which I guess your proof checks can be more money related, and mine and Sarah's proof checks can be more making sure they're physically there, because by the time you're proof checking it, the magazine's gone to print. So no, it makes sense. 100%.
I think at least for this next issue, let's just do that as a safety net for us, Ollie, really. So if we're both checking the same list, then less margin for error. Yeah, absolutely.
What about for the advertisers who request a copy of the magazine? This is what was raised. I've had about 2 or 3. And I passed them on to Eric to get them posted out and what have you. I've tried to, in some cases, I've fobbed them off with a PDF. Now, whether when you are going to the advertisers, you say, we will send you a PDF of the magazine at the time of printing so you can see your advert in it, or do you wish to have a hard copy sent, in which case you would have to mark it on the spreadsheet, and Eric or somebody would have to send one out to them at no charge or whatever. Is that something that you feel we ought to be doing? Did they ask you for copies of the magazine when you were asking them to advertise?
There was only one company that requested me send a magazine because they were slightly out of the village, and that was Marcel Wealth Management. And they requested it because they said they needed it for a tax reason. I don't know what they were talking about. So anyway, I need it for a tax reason or so. So anyway, I sent their copy out myself, So I did that, but nobody else mentioned about it, because I guess typically, I guess, if you're advertising in it, typically you're within the village, so you're going to get a copy.
Well, if you look at a lot of the addresses of the people, they're actually not in the village. The people who own the business or run it. I'm thinking of, SD Electrics. That's one. He didn't have one. Who was the other person who asked me for one to be sent? APV Electrics. They were the other one. That was, and when he didn't find the advert was in, that's why he came back to me, which was unfortunate. So I was just wondering, do we offer them that, or should I just print it on the invoice? You can access the magazine using the Thorney Community Forum PDF that will be up there, or is there a PDF I can put? I was just thinking just to clarify to people, they can check themselves that the advert's there if they want to.
Yeah, I think the PDF would make more sense to me. Otherwise, it could then become a big task for us in terms of physically posting them all out, then another checklist of who have we posted out, who have we forgot to post out to. Then there's an added cost to it of posting it out to everybody. So I guess the PDF would be preferable. And we could almost say, it depends. I mean, when you send out the invoices, technically it's another add-on then, but you could technically add on the PDF to the invoice in one email. So they've got the PDF of the magazine and the invoice all in one email, but then it's another add-on for you to do, because then you're having to attach two things to each email rather than just an invoice.
I'm not dead certain, because my invoice system is a system that I don't control. It's Solner, i.e. who built the system. I can tailor emails. Now, whether I can put an attachment on that email, because the email doesn't come from me, it comes from Solner, i.e. So I can put an address on the invoice, like you can view the magazine at, and I can just type in an address and they can type it in themselves, as against attaching a PDF, if you follow me. I'm not certain what I can attach to the automated system, as against I can write anything I want.
How about
do you just say to people, you've got the spreadsheet, is it possible from your spreadsheet to send everybody on the spreadsheet a copy of the PDF? So you'll all get a copy of the PDF. That's the end of it. If you want a hard copy, you'll have to contact the editor or somebody different or whatever. But as I say, I'm happy to go with anything.
Yeah, I think if there's only literally 1, 2, 3 advertisers that have requested it and everyone else is happy with how it is at the moment, maybe if I just, like I did with the Marcel Wealth Management, just put a note on the spreadsheet that when we get the copy back from the printers, for those 3 people that have physically asked us for a copy, first port of call is that I send out a copy to those 3 people. And if everyone else is quiet and happy and content with whatever they're doing, let them be. And if anyone else pokes their head up and says, oh, I quite like a hard copy and I'm outside the village, then we can add them onto the spreadsheet, say, moving forward, this company needs to send a hard copy, and just keep a really small, short list of people that have sort of stuck their neck out to say, I would like a copy, rather than blanketing it, because I think then it's just another admin task for us each time. And it'll then create assumption that that's then the norm moving forward. So then it's just another thing for us to do. Whereas I think if we just had a note on the spreadsheet of the people that have asked. So you mentioned, if you could ping me an email at some point, Chris, just with those companies that have mentioned to you about it, I'll edit my spreadsheet. And then when I post Marcel's out, each time I'll post them out to these 2 or 3 others as well. And as I say, if anyone else then pops their head up, I can just add them on, but do it on a case-by-case basis might be sort of most efficient.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
Good. So finally, we all want to get off and watch Bake Off or whatever's on TV. Don't to take any more time than we have to. Just on proofing, the proofing process, Sarah, is there anything there that we need to look at and see whether we need to improve that?
No, I don't think so. I mean, that went quite smoothly. unless Simon wants to do it any differently. I mean, I know you did a lot of the stuff at the beginning, Eric, which was great, and you put it through the letterbox. Simon did all of his digitally and just added notes to everything, and that was equally as good. I mean, I'm used to working either way, so it's not really a problem for me. It's just that my main concern for you two, for you, Eric and Simon, was that you were both proofreading the same thing. That was my main concern.
Yeah.
But I think if we have a complete and final copy in the finals folder, as we've already discussed, that will reduce a lot of, I think, a lot of proofreading anyway, because you'll have proofread the article and finalised it, drop it in. And if I'm just copying it through, there shouldn't be any major. So that will hopefully bring that down, rather than you'll be doing it individually rather than doing it.
Sure. Okay. We can always refine that, nearer to the actual publication date, can't we? And it would maybe good to get Simon involved in that conversation.
Yeah. I mean, however you want to get edits to me isn't a problem. If you want to print them out and scribble on them, or put notes, digital notes,
I mean, shoving them through your letterbox worked okay once I could get your darn gate open. I almost thought about climbing over it at one stage. So okay, jolly good.
Okay.
Does anybody want to raise anything else?
There were two ideas that sort of came to me about potential editorial ideas for the next issue, and I was keen to bounce off you, Eric, as well, and Chris, I guess, because you've been here a bit longer and seen some. I don't want to repeat what you've done before. One idea was obviously this issue we had a picture of the King's Line railway gates that got restored. Is there an article there we could do about the old King's Line the line to King's Lynn and the historical element of that side of things? Is that something you've covered before?
No,
we've not done anything on the on Thorney's rail way that was actually beaching in the 60s. We have done historical pieces on Thorney people and different aspects of Thorney, the flood of 1947, and things like that. So I mean, they always go down really well, the historical pieces, and it's probably a question of getting somebody in the Thorney Society buttered up to write them. Jane, what's Jane and Sheraton? Jane Sheraton has done a lot of writing for the electronic displays in the museum, so she has a quite a good list of articles about Thorney and about Thorney people that could go in more or less straight away with illustrations. And in the past she's done that for me, and we've given a credit to the museum and a little plug for the Thorney Society. So I'm sure she'd do that. The railways something that maybe we ought to do.
Just something a little bit different. And then the only other thing I thought, and again, it was something that popped up on Facebook recently, the blacksmith down Gas Lane put up a post fairly recently. They'd been making handmade horseshoes. And the pictures were amazing, and I thought, and every time whenever I go down Gas Lane, you see the old blacksmith there, and I always wonder, is it still working? Is it derelict or whatnot? And I thought that can make quite a nice feature, especially this recent article. I don't know who wrote it, and they were saying about how these handmade horseshoes, and had pictures of making it and of the old furnace going, and it was quite an interesting thing. That's like a little hidden gem that that might be nice to add in something. But I don't know whether we'd need to contact whoever wrote that post.
He's down for an article in the Thorney People series for next time. He's an interesting chap.
Oh,
He's,
good.
Master Farry. Luke Gooding is his name, I think. I forget his name now. But Maggie Primavace's already got him on her list to do something about him. So yeah,
Is that the
he's on
farrier?
that, yeah.
Are you
That's
talking
it,
about
yeah.
the farrier or the blacksmith?
The
Oh.
farrier. We're talking about the farrier. I don't know whether we should do something on John Downing. I'm not sure if he's
Yeah,
retiring or not. He should have retired years ago, really.
Yeah, well, as I say, that's he's the blacksmith as against the farrier, isn't he?
Yeah, but the farrier's been using his premises. I don't know whether they've come to an arrangement to sort of sublet so that Luke Gooding's got somewhere to work. I'm not dead sure. Not sure where he's been working so far to date. Yeah.
Did we have
Yeah,
any?
we'll
Oh, sorry. Just wondered if we had any response on the
no,
petition.
No. No, I mean,
That's
competitions are remarkably difficult to get. The last competition we did was a photographic competition. We got one entry. So that was easy to judge. So I'm a bit skeptical. When I worked in newspapers, you could never get anybody to enter competitions unless there was booze as a prize. If you had a bottle of whiskey as a prize, you'd get loads of entries. But it was,
is it worth us? Is it worth us doing like a reminder post on the Thorney Facebook post just to say, hopefully, you've all had a chance to nestle in and read the latest edition. For those who've missed it, please get involved in the competition we're running, and then do like a PDF picture of that page that we've got, something again just to push it back out to remind people to get involved, because that's the sort of thing I can imagine one person liking and saying, "Oh, I'll do that with my daughter," and then them sharing it with someone else or tagging, and I think that would probably help it get more traction.
I'll take that as an action, Ollie and Sarah. I'll put something on the community forum.
It's got to be worth a try, I suppose.
Keep plugging it to see whether we get.
It would just be nice to have a winner in the next issue, even if we don't. We just need one person to enter.
As awful as you want.
Yeah.
We need to name a winner so it doesn't look like a complete disaster.
We'll find a child somewhere, even if we have to kidnap one. And
I'll give my neighbours a dig in the ribs. They've got 3 kids. So I've been saying, look, can you enter this competition for me? Because we need the numbers.
Okay.
Good. Okay. Smashing. We'll save that as kidnapping will be the last resort. We'll see if we can persuade them. Yeah. Okay. Super. I think we should all feel really good about what we've done. The consensus is it's absolutely fantastic to have the magazine back. The parish council chair wrote an email to say that she was delighted. I should have passed it on to her. I hope I did. I forwarded it to you. If I haven't, I will do. But Margaret Long had said how pleased she was to get it back, and I know they're following it very closely. So I'll write up a few notes. I'll share the video, and we can all hunker down until New Year. Hopefully, when we've got a clearer path to COVID-free village, and we can return to something like normal, and we'll get cracking on the Easter one. Okay. Thanks very much, everybody.
Okay.
No more business. I'll declare the meeting closed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Cheers.
See you soon.
Bye.
Cheers.